On the very first episode of Star Trek Strange New Sequest. Star Trek SG-1. Star Trek Same Old Shit? Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Episode 1 of Season 1, entitled Strange New Worlds.
The originality of the episode name along with the series is indicative, I think, of what we're going to get.
Ugh. Well, this first episode could be divided almost equally in two parts. The very first half of this episode was entirely introducing the characters of the series. That's it. It was all about the characters and their backgrounds and their feelings. The second half of the episode, that's where the actual story was. That means that you had a truncated story that was probably about 25 minutes long. And you could tell it suffered greatly because of that. Not to mention the fact that, well, I'll just start in the beginning. The very beginning of this episode, the hook is that Una, or Number One, played by Rebecca Romaine, she has gone out for a first contact, and they have not heard from her since then. And in this opening hook, which, in science fiction, the first contact situation is a very common trope, because you're going to run into that every time you have one species meeting another for the first time. So I don't have a complaint about that. You have to make episodes like that. What I will complain about with this is that they really borrowed heavily from other franchises. For instance, they even showed us footage from The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah, well, first remember, and this is a fact, mind you, that the Vulcans invented the whole idea of first contact.
Oh, God.
It was stated in this episode, the whole idea of, I don't know what you're talking about saying this is a common trope, because it was clear they had dialogue in this episode that said the Vulcans invented first contact. They invented the process of first contact. I could try to defend this new series and say what they meant to say was the protocols through many years of trial and error.
That they're using, the Federation is using.
Right, the same protocol. But that's
not what they said.
Nope, that is not at all what they said.
Yeah, so this was horrible. We start out after that failed hook because it may as well have just been a throwaway thing, because immediately after that, you went into Captain Pike in Montana, and it's all snowy outside, and he's in this cabin with this huge beard, and
it's like a backwoods Santa Claus beard or something. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting because they had him in this secluded, snowy place.
In Montana.
Hiding out. And if you recall, Sequest begins with Captain Bridger on an island where it's, sunny, beach, sandy, nice.
And having an admiral visit both of them to try to reluctantly get them to take back the command of their ship.
After they've been through something.
Yep, they both grew a gray beard, even though for the rest of the series, or at least season, if we're talking Sequest, the first season, the captain won't have that beard anymore. It wasn't, the story was slightly different. Bridger was on the island due to his son dying, and he just didn't want anything more with the military, and Captain Pike was there because I guess he couldn't handle the revelation that he found out with the magic crystals on that Klingon monk planet. That was a reoccurring thing throughout the whole episode, was him he was like having flashbacks of that vision, which could have been interesting. Dealing with one's own mortality or seeing one's own mortality, that could be interesting, but this wasn't interesting.
Well, no, it was clear he had PTSD. He should not have been cleared for command. He was not getting treatment for that. That was obvious. And the way that the writers treated the subject matter, it just seemed like this was something that he was just going to have to work through.
Yeah, suck it up on his own.
Yeah, on the job, and he'd be fine. And that really made me angry.
It doesn't surprise me, given what they've done with Picard, on the Picard series, and how they're dealing with mental illness. It doesn't surprise me they're going this route with this, because they also had another character, and I won't spoil your synopsis here, but another character that was dealing with PTSD, and I guess they handled that slightly better, but I mean, the bar was so low. I mean, okay.
I'm not even sure they handled that better, though.
Yeah, I wasn't saying good, just better.
Anyway, so Captain Pike and his PTSD are hiding out in this cabin. He's got this woman there with him who, at first, I'm like, who is this? Is this his wife, his daughter? Oh, she appears to be a booty call. It just, why? That wasn't even necessary to play that like that. And then the Admiral shows up in a shuttle and, spooks the horse. And that was just a really weird scene. It's clear to the viewer that he's suffering from PTSD. Yet this Admiral is showing up to tell him he has to go back to work immediately. It's like, wait a minute, this guy is clearly having some psychological problems. Why are you sending him out there to look for Una when she's gone missing during this first contact mission? Again, bad writing.
Well, if you compare it to that seaquest scene where Noyce and Bridger were on the beach of Bridger's Island, the difference there is Bridger wasn't really, he was mourning his son, and he promised his deceased wife that he wasn't going to be part of the military anymore. But he wasn't dealing with PTSD, at least not that I ever figured out in that season 1. He just had enough of everything, and he promised his wife he wasn't going to deal with that anymore. And Noyce was enlisting him because the world was in trouble, and Bridger had a unique balance of science and military to try to move forward with what needed to happen in history, because it was a very delicate time.
Well, they actually truly needed his skills in particular.
He was a very unique person.
It was his submarine. Essentially, Admiral Noyce tricked him into taking command.
Yeah, because he designed the submarine. And I guess what I'm trying to say here is the comparison between seaquest and Strange New Worlds. seaquest in the early 90s did that. It was To Be or Not to Be was the pilot first episode of season 1. They handled that better as far as what Noyce was trying to do. Is Bridger he wasn't PTSDing. He just kind of hermited away from the world because after his son and wife died, he just didn't want to deal with the world anymore. And so Noyce was trying to show him that he had a lot that he could do for the world still. Plus, later on when he forms that relationship with Lucas, that sort of was like a surrogate father-son bonding. So Noyce knew what he was doing by trying to kind of push Bridger back into the captain's seat because he knew he wasn't dealing with PTSD. He was just kind of like a recluse. Whereas Pike here, he clearly needs therapy and lots of time off to deal with this revelation that he learned about. So that's where the situations are different. And a series from the 90s did it better. A captain that an admiral goes to visit, that they need you. I'm not really sure why they needed Pike at all versus another captain.
Well, they could have used another captain. This was essentially, it was a rescue mission. Anybody could have gone. They could have sent anyone. It didn't have to be Pike. They just picked Pike because it was his number one that was missing.
Yep. And I would argue that's, if you've got some sort of personal ties to the person you're looking for, maybe you're not the best person to be taking on that mission.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
No. So, anyway. Next, we see Spock.
Well, we see somebody calling himself Spock.
Oh, God. This one, I think, was the worst out of all of what they did to these characters. Because
as far as character assassinations, yeah.
Because, it starts out with him and T'Pring having dinner in, I guess, a restaurant. They're talking about marriage, and she proposes to him, and he accepts, and then they're kissing right there in public.
Well, plus the way they were talking, query.
It's like they don't understand. These writers don't understand how Vulcans actually work. They just think it's some sort of weird way of speaking, like some sort of dialect, but that's not it at all. What
that reminded me of, and remember that Doctor Who episode, the Christmas one with the Titanic, and they had those robots that were on the ship, and they kept talking about query.
Yeah, the hosts.
Yeah, the hosts. The way that T'Pring and Spock were talking to each other just reminded me of that. except in Doctor Who, it made more sense. This didn't make any sense. I mean, it was stupid. I don't even know how to, like, I don't think there's a way we can convey to the viewer of this video how bad it was. I think you just have to watch that scene for yourself. I'm sure if you look online, you can find that somewhere. But query.
Ugh. And then it got worse. I mean...
Yeah, somehow it got worse than that, and it wasn't good to begin with.
They were asked to leave the restaurant because they were pretty much making out right there at the table. A pair of Vulcans, I mean, really. And then, I guess, I don't know whose place they went back to, if it was hers or his. I didn't catch that. They're, like, making out in bed, and that's when Captain Pike tries to contact Spock on the communicator. So he puts the communicator, I guess, in some sort of dock by a screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Communicators carry video signals now.
Oh, my God. So Pike can see him, and Spock, or Peck Spock, or whatever you want to call this guy. Oh, my God.
Not Spock.
Not Spock. New Spock? I don't know. But anyways, I know. Naked Spock. We'll call him Naked Spock because he's standing there topless and Captain Pike says, Spock, are you naked? I mean, it was cringy.
Well, then the response was no. And then to Pring in the background, but she said, but Chris, he was going to be in a few minutes. That's what was said. And I know you and I, after this episode, we went back and we looked at the original series and we looked at the original episode of Amok Time, which was the one that had to Pring in it. And I guess I misremembered, or maybe I made some guesses. But my bad memory just assumed that this was an arranged marriage from childhood and that they hadn't seen each other since back then. And watching the episode, it appears to be unclear. They went through a ceremony, I guess, when they were like 7 or 8 years old. I forget the age. And then I guess it's open to interpretation on whether they saw each other between when they did that as a child, the ceremony, and then in Amok Time when Spock was having to deal with the actual ceremony on Vulcan. But I looked it up, and I guess I misremembered or I made assumptions because nowhere in Amok Time did it actually say that he hadn't seen her since then. So, I mean, it's open that they could have been visiting each other like this, I suppose. But not like what was going on here. I mean, this was weird. I mean, I guess the argument here is that, like, they were going... Like, he must have been going on with Pon farr because I guess there would have been, like, 1 or 2 cycles between this and the Enterprise episode. But it was just weird. I mean, the whole sex scene they did, it was just really... It reminded me of some sort of like low budget porn or something. It was bad. Like not even like some sort of Cinemax thing, like some softcore thing. It was weird.
Yeah. So fortunately, Pike cock blocked that, and
yeah, we're all grateful for that. By the way.
So, next you see Pike on the shuttle Stamets, and he's heading to the Enterprise.
Yeah, Stamets, as in the mushroom guy from Discovery.
Although they called it Stamets, I believe. So it's like, is it like the accent of the shuttle pilot, or did this new set of actors just not know how to pronounce this properly?
Yeah, I don't know. And it's weird, too. And I mean, this isn't a problem just for this. So we've got this Stamets shuttle. And then later on, we find out about, I think, a starship called the USS Archer.
Yep.
Why does everything have to be named after somebody from a previous series?
To try to give themselves credibility.
Like, it was getting weird. I mean, these are these weird, I guess you'd call them Easter eggs, but they kept naming crap after people that, like, we saw in previous series. It's like, really? In this entire galaxy, those are the only people you're going to be dealing with?
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, nothing wrong. I mean, could something have been named USS Archer? Sure. But why? I mean, why, out of all the things you could have had that ship named, why did you name it that? Because as this episode went along, they kept dropping these Easter eggs and member berries constantly. It got really bad. Like, they would do those things, and then they would get stuff so wrong about the continuity. I doubt you're going to talk about it, but there was a scene where they were in sickbay, which looks nothing like the original series sickbay, and they had an emergency medical transporter in sickbay. So this was before Captain Kirk, and in sickbay, they had an emergency medical transporter. That's a thing in this series. On this Enterprise, that's supposed to be before Captain Kirk. Wish McCoy would have had something like that. It would have been pretty darn useful.
Oh my God.
And this is supposed to be the same continuity as all the other series, which we know is a lie, but that's what they're saying is going on.
So there was the traditional shot of the shuttle Stamets coming around the Enterprise and space dock.
Which I thought we were going to get like a traditional, like the motion picture, like a flyby the ship, like the motion picture did, and the Orville kind of did a takeoff of. Mm-hmm. I thought we were going to get that, but no, we got a quick, as they're driving up to the ship, and then...
Yeah, so then apparently this shuttlecraft has a transporter.
Yeah. Shuttlecrafts have transporters in addition to the medical transporter, so isn't that nice? That makes total sense, by the way. Unless
maybe, as I said at the time, like maybe they were actually using the transporter on the Enterprise to transport him off the shuttlecraft. I don't know.
But then why have a shuttlecraft?
Well, exactly. Well, yes. I mean, like that
if he was on Earth, why not just transport him up? Having a shuttle butt up to him, it's like that's what the shuttle bay's for. You should have went around the back end and then landed in the shuttle bay. That's how this is supposed to work. You remember, because on Discovery, remember when the Enterprise was there and there were like 7,000 shuttlecrafts flying out of the shuttle bay during that episode? Was it that season 2 finale? Or there were like 6,000, 7,000 shuttles just flying out of the... I guess maybe after that they had to shut down the shuttle bay because there were too many shuttles there? I don't know.
So anyway, and there's a conversation between Pike and not Spock, and they're talking about how... Spock misses his sister, and how Pike misses Michael Burnham, and just everybody misses Michael Burnham. They would have done better to have just ignored that there was any connection between this series and Star Trek Discovery, but clearly they wanted to make sure that that was mentioned. I don't know if they thought that was a good thing. To me, it was not.
Well, they tied this giant anchor around them because I realize it's the same people making this show as Discovery. So they're not going to, do anything to, contradict Discovery or to try to just rewrite Discovery because that's a screw-up. But at the very least, like you said, I thought they were just going to kind of not mention them and go, look, we know Discovery fans aren't accepting very well, and Picard is now crapping the bed in Season 2, although Season 1 was pretty bad. So the Strange New World, like I said in our last Picard video, this was their chance to show if they got anything right. And they go out of their way... I mean, not only this dialogue, but later there is a story element that relies on Star Trek Discovery in addition to Pike having those memories. Mm-hmm. It's like you're tying this to Star Trek Discovery. This is going to fail because you're tying it to Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't it enough that Pike has this PTSD because he has this knowledge of the future? Of his future in particular.
That he got from the magic crystals on Discovery.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't that enough? Nope. They've got, I miss Michael Burnham. We don't miss Michael Burnham.
Nobody misses Michael Burnham.
And then I don't remember exactly what happened. Lieutenant Kirk was mentioned at this time, or was he...
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
We had to pause this 20 times. And some of that was because Molly was taking notes for this video. But a lot of it was both of us, we were getting so bent out of shape over what they were doing. Not only just how they were doing stupid stuff in the episode, but just, I mean, in general, it's not even a Star Trek thing. They were doing stuff that was just, some of the dialogue was so pretentious and stupid that we had to pause it, go, ugh, and then wait. And then go, okay, we're calm back down. Let's start it back up.
Well, that's because they had all of this extremely superficial philosophy that was supposed to be so deep, but all it was shallow nonsense that made no sense. It was horrible. During the not Spock part, while he was getting it on with T'Pring, I mean, my mom, she said, in the original Star Trek, I don't remember all this sexy crap. I mean, that was the quote of the day for that because, It wasn't like that, that's for sure.
Well, it was 60s TV, so I'm going to give a little bit of, time has passed since then. But I don't remember, nor should we remember Spock doing any of this. So there should not have been, there was nothing in the 60s. I think the closest to that was when Spock was on that spore planet, and he got infected by the spores, so he fell in love with the lady down there, like with those flowers that turned and then shot the spores. Like, that was the closest you saw to any thing like this, and all they were doing was kind of like sitting around and maybe kissing. I mean, I guess maybe the cave, when they went back in time on the library, and they were back in the Ice Age, and he was having that pseudo romance with that person who was sent back there to the cave times. But again, there was no like big hot and heavy stuff with Spock. That's just not really what it did. But as I said earlier, this was like softcore porn or something. I can see why your mom wasn't happy with it, because there's like kissy, romancy stuff, which, I mean, she watches stuff that has some of that in there.
Well, yeah, but
and then
you
this
don't
was not
expect
that.
Spock to
No.
answer his comm with his shirt off.
And then the captain saying, "Are you naked?"
Oh, my
No,
God.
no. And then, "Oh, but he will be in a few minutes." Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. This series was supposed to be how to draw in the older, and I don't mean older as in age-wise, but the people who like the older Star Trek. This was supposed to be the series to try to bring them back into the franchise. This is what, and your mother is one of those people that she was actually excited to watch this episode.
Yep.
But like 10 minutes into it, she almost wanted to check out and say done, because then we made a joke about, oh my gosh, 9 more episodes of this. And she said, 9 more episodes for you two, because I don't know if I'm going to watch this again.
Yeah. So, the new number 1, her first name is La'an, and her last name is Noonien Singh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her last name was Noonien Singh.
That's a coincidence, I'm sure.
Khan!
That's the implication there.
Yeah, so...
And who does she look like?
Well, she looks like Drummer from The Expanse.
The makeup, the hair, and the way she walks all kind of stiff with her arms behind her sometimes. This looked like Kamina Drummer. Like, they decided, hey, lots of people like Kamina Drummer from The Expanse. Let's get the look of Drummer and put it into this new character. And so, granted, the eye makeup's not exactly the same, because Drummer really slops the stuff on. But this person slopped it on pretty good, so it wasn't exactly the same. But if you put these two right next to each other, you could, if somebody said that this person in this Strange New Worlds was cosplaying Kamina Drummer,
Oh, yeah,
I would believe it.
Yeah, and then, of course, she, at a point in the story, she has to have some injections to genetically modify her facial features, and she refuses sedation. And it just reminded me of Alara from The Orville. That here's this character who is, I mean, I don't know that she's overpowered, but she's quite strong for what she looks like, appears to be.
We didn't really see her doing any physical strength, did we?
Yeah, but remember when the thing wore off on Spock, he was actually screaming in pain.
I got you. The initial treatment was going to have that same pain. That's why they were sedating the people who were going to get the treatment before they went down to the planet. I got you.
Yeah. So, again, there's another similarity to another character, a better character in a better show. It just felt like she was a combination of Alara and Drummer. One from The Orville, one from The Expanse.
Yeah, I mean, she looked like Drummer. I'm not saying she acted like... I mean, other than her, the way she walked, and she was all stiff and stoic, that was very Drummer-like. But she had an accent. I don't know if it was New Zealand or
Australian.
Yeah, it was
something like
so
that.
Once she opened her mouth, she sounded a little bit different. But again, she kind of talked in this metered talk, sort of like Drummer. As it was going on, I'm like, they ripped off Drummer. Maybe the people who watch this show, since they don't like science fiction, don't watch The Expanse, so they have no idea that the look was ripped off from The Expanse. But I'm going to point that out. In fact, every episode that we cover of this series, whenever this character does anything, I'm going to call her Kamina Drummer, because unless they change the way she looks, I'm not going to accept the way they did this, because this was a ripoff.
Yeah, and the other thing about her, and I mean, we've all been talking about this since before the premiere, the fact that she appears to be a descendant of Khan. They've got one of Khan's descendants on the Enterprise before they meet Khan.
Yeah.
So this really breaks the continuity there, because one would think that Spock or Nurse Chapel or Uhura or any of the people who are currently on that ship that when they encounter Khan later in the timeline, would be like, hey, I know your descendant, or
your descendant was nothing
all.
like you. Yeah, it says
So why would you do that? I mean, as a writer, why would you do that?
It's a member berry. Because I remember in the fan film Renegades, the female lead there was somehow related to Khan.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that was done in a more believable way to me because they weren't trying to, because that was set
in the future.
Yeah, in the post all these TV series.
Yeah.
You can get away with stuff like that, but not before the original series when they met. This is before Space Seed, so they never met this person. I mean, even if only the name was similar, somebody would have said, oh, I remember a Noonien Singh who had some sort of issues. We'll just call it that. Like,
yeah.
You're right. This is completely disregarding canon, or like I said with T'Pring, they're wedging in stuff. It's kind of like in Picard when they wedged in his mother's mental illness and he said something like, oh, I used to imagine her old serving me tea, and of course, in Picard, she committed suicide. And it's like, you're just wedging that in there. It's like, sure, could that make sense if nobody knew anything else? Sure. But you're just wedging this crap in there. That's not knitting stuff together, because when you make a prequel, you knit stuff together to make it fit in. This is just jamming it in there. And this Noonien Singh, I mean, even if she turns out not to be related to Khan, just the name itself is... Somebody would have mentioned that in Space Seed. Yeah. Either Uhura or Spock, who are here in this episode.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, and of course, in any reflective surface, Pike seems to see his disfigured face every time he looks in a mirror or any kind of reflection at all. Reflecty piece of his chair on the bridge. And oh my God, there's his melted face.
He starts going to these, like, I don't know, I don't want to be mean, but like these flashbacks or something.
Oh my God. As I said, PTSD, this guy shouldn't be on the bridge. What the hell is this? Oh. Then, of course, Spock, his only advice was, suffering can be transformed into insight. Like, what what is that going to help with? When he sees his reflection, I mean, total aside here, my European listeners here might know what I'm talking about, but there's an episode of Father Ted where there's this elderly priest and they're in the cockpit of a plane and he sees his reflection and he freaks out. And one of the other priests says, oh no, he's not supposed to see his reflection. He doesn't know he's a priest. I mean, and that reminds me of this so much, except that's actually funny. And this is just sad.
As I said at the beginning of this video, this could be a concept that's worth exploring when somebody knows their own fate as far as when you're going to end or how you're going to have an accident. That could be interesting. It really could be interesting. But what they're doing here is what they always do. It's ham-fisted, bam, bam, bam. This show is no different than Discovery or Picard.
Yeah.
I don't know why anybody thought it would be different, but it is showing the same problems that both of those series have.
Mm-hmm. So now we're halfway through the episode, and we finally get to the planet where number 1 has disappeared. And as it turns out, oh God. The warp signature that they had detected, thinking that this civilization had developed warp drive and it was time for first contact. Well, that's not exactly what it was. Apparently, it was the signature from a fucking bomb.
A warp bomb or whatever the hell they were doing. The way they presented it, like, if it was a matter-antimatter bomb, like, maybe I could go along with this. But the way they presented it is it was like a warp bomb. Like, that's the name of it. I don't know if they called it that, but it's like,
yeah, they did.
It's like, no, it's not a matter-antimatter bomb. That would make some sense. No, this was just a warp bomb. I don't even know how that makes any sense. Warp is about bending space around a ship so it can do faster than light. So what is a warp bomb? Does it just bend space and then
it go boom?
Like the explosive goes faster than light to the destination?
I don't know. But apparently on the planet, you've got 2 factions that have been fighting for who knows how long. And now one of them sees a way to put an end to that once and for all. Which, again, This sounds eerily like an episode of Stargate. Well, actually, several episodes when Corin Nemec was on the show.
SG-1.
Yeah, SG-1. Where you had two factions on a planet kicking the shit out of each other, and one found a way to get nukes to take out the other one. I mean, I wish they would have told a better story. Like, used their entire, almost an hour to tell a story, rather than dividing this into two parts. Half of it is dealing with these characters, and then the other half you shoehorn in this story, and it was a crap story at that. I just don't even know what to say. I mean, I know there are a lot of people out there who thought this was good, but I really didn't think this was good. Honestly, this was more painful to watch than Picard.
Yeah. And Picard's bad, by the way, so that's not to say, oh, we like Picard better. This is that bad. I don't know anybody who is saying, oh, this is good. Yeah, but it's not. Like, this is not good. This is worse. This is on par with Discovery.
Yeah. Because
Picard, in the first season, first episode, or second season, first episode, they gave you that one episode where you kind of believed maybe this, it had some problems, but maybe it could go somewhere useful. And Discovery, like almost out of the gate, they told you this was crap because they set up the whole Michael Burnham and the mutiny and all that. This Strange New Worlds, this is the first episode of a new series, and it crapped the bed. I cannot think of a single positive thing about this episode. And I don't know if I'm skipping ahead, and if I am, just say you'll get to it. Are you going to explain how this planet figured out the technology that they were going to use for the warp bombs?
That was the next part. You go right ahead and then do that.
So the way it was explained is they figured out antimatter-matter reactions by Discovery when the Michael Burnham in the Red Angel suit opened up that time vortex and her and Discovery went to the future. That this planet was near that. So they mentioned this, their telescopes and other like listening devices. Somehow, just by watching Discovery and sensing there were some sort of warp signatures or whatever, they were able to backward engineer matter-antimatter reactions and create
a bomb.
A warp whatever. Now, had a ship crashed or something and then they like backward engineered it, because I believe on SG-1 there were a couple of episodes where they backward engineered some technology, but this wasn't a ship crashed or a piece of technology that a race figured out how to use. This was looking at a telescope like Galileo. Maybe they had some radio telescopes, and that was the extent of their research, and they just backward engineered matter-antimatter reactions. I don't know where they got the dilithium from to regulate the reactions, but I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, maybe they didn't have dilithium. That's why it's a bomb instead of anything else.
Yeah, a warp bomb, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hilarious because it's like, oh, how is it that we didn't know this was not a warp engine, and now we do? And it's like, oh, well, the ship that Una was on, they didn't have updated scanners, but they updated Enterprise's scanners while it was in space dock. So now, how fortunate is it that we have these new scanners and we can see, oh, it was a mistake, it's actually a bomb. God, the writing is so shit on this. So anyways, these people down on the planet, they've got Una and her crew of 2 people locked up. Pike and Spock and not Drummer are going to have to go down to the planet to rescue them. And they get around General Order 1 by justifying this as it's their fault that this is happening because of the whole Michael Burnham wormhole in the sky bullshit. And
that they just watched and figured out.
Yes. Because they already interfered, that means that they can go down and rescue Una and the other 2.
And by interfered, all that means is they did something that somebody could watch with their telescopes.
Yeah, and this is a good point I think to state that there was an episode like that on the Orville where Kelly was on a less advanced planet, and all she did was use a healing device to heal a wound on a child, and she completely changed the course of this planet's history to the point where, they erected statues to her and a whole religion and everything. I mean, she really, one little act like that, and it screwed up their civilization entirely. Well, that was handled much better.
The original series had a few episodes like that, too. But, you called it General Order 1, and then later on they made the joke about, well, we're going to call it the Prime Directive now. And then Pike said something like, well, that's not going to catch on or something like that.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's like, okay.
So they decide what they're going to do is do that genome manipulation so that they can look like the population down on the planet. So Pike, Spock, and Not Drummer undergo the procedure to get their facial features changed. And of course, I guess I'll just start with Nurse Chapel.
Not Nurse Chapel.
Looked, oh my god, I don't even know what to say. Her fried hair.
That bad dye job.
Oh my god. She looked so unprofessional. I don't know if this was a miscast or if... I don't know why they have her looking like that. Why does she look like that?
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what they thought Majel Barrett looked like.
Well, that's not what she looked like.
I agree. I don't think Majel Barrett's Nurse Chapel looked like that, but maybe the people who are writing this crap, that's how they thought she looked. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's not.
And also, this is another continuity thing. So in the original series, when they were going down to a planet, I forget what episode it was, but there was one episode where it's like I have to go to ship's wardrobe to get a costume for us to go down. And in this series, after they had their little genetic thing, when they transported down, they were wearing their normal uniforms, and you were sitting there going, what, they're just going to go in their uniforms? I mean, they're going to stick out. When they rematerialized on the planet, the transporter put the uniforms on them.
Yeah, that was messed up.
Or the costumes, I should say, on them. And that didn't happen. In Kirk's era, they had to go visit a wardrobe, much like the holodeck, because even in the Next Generation, when they would go into the holodeck, Data or Geordi or whoever, or in Deep Space Nine, when Julian and O'Brien, they'd have to go and put costumes on before they would go in the holodeck. So why is this prequel? Why is the transporter putting costumes on these people as they're transporting down?
And then, Dr. Mbenga and La'an, as in Not Drummer, what was that weird little finger thing at the eyeball business?
I don't know. They were taking their finger and going under their eye or something.
What the hell was that?
I mean, maybe that's some Easter egg I'm not catching, but I didn't know what if
anybody knows, tell me, because I want to know.
I mean, I made the joke well, did he get her some cocaine or something? Giving a signal about, because I don't know what they were doing, but maybe that's part of the member berry stuff that I'm just not catching. So yeah, if somebody knows, please put in the comments so we can at least know what the hell they were trying to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so when Spock materialized and he's got his new clothes on, he says, "Where are my pants?" Because they were just showing a shot of him from the waist up. So it's is he standing there?
Well, given what we saw earlier, is he naked, bottomless? Luckily, that was not the case.
No, because then it finally showed you and he's wearing shorts. So I mean, just another gag that fell flat. These people, they don't know how to write comedy.
No, it wasn't funny.
No, it wasn't.
Because then as the camera panned out, I was like, well, is everybody wearing shorts? And it's no, just him. When he was on the planet Spock, and the concept of as his DNA, whatever the hell they did to him to make him look like this alien, as it was wearing off, what was happening was the natives there were noticing his pointy ears. And I remember the Edith Keeler episode, so he couldn't get a hat to stick on. Even Alara in the Orville, when they had that social media episode of season 1, she put on some band or something, because he even made a story idea about she put some hat on or something, and it was a cultural taboo to do that.
Yep.
But she covered her own ears up. So you're telling me, even though that was happening to Spock, they couldn't have got some sort of hat or something to put her on his ears, or a band or something? I'm probably going way too into the story like this, but I just remember the original series, they put a hat on Spock and the problem was solved. When he was having those problems with his ears basically turning back into pointy ears, why couldn't he just put a hat on?
Yep, exactly. So, they're trying to sneak into this building where Una and the other two are being held. And, of course, the Noonien Singh lady is the one who comes up with an idea to get them in the side, and she's faking an illness, and so then she tells Spock to pinch their necks, and
well, he didn't say, she says something else, like some
necks.
Yeah, something about necks, and then Spock's like looking like
their necks,
and she says it like 2 or 3 times, and I guess because Spock, he has that learning disability that Michael Burnham helped him with, so apparently it took him that amount of time to figure out, oh, I'm supposed to pinch the neck.
Yeah, so then those guys are unconscious. So what do? They beam them up to the Enterprise, and they're going to sedate them in sickbay. So, of course, what happens? Well, one of them wakes up and gets away, and he's running around the ship. It's kind of funny, but... Well,
it's just incompetent. I mean, I mentioned this to you. Why didn't they have a security guard there? Because you don't know if these entities are going to be violent or anything.
Well, yeah, why weren't they put in some sort of, I don't know.
Well, your mom said, why weren't they in some sort of restraints at the very least?
Exactly.
And I would argue, why wasn't there a security guard in sickbay just overseeing the operation just in case? Because why should Dr. Mbenga and Nurse Chapel, why should they have to sit there and wrestle these people if something bad happens? I mean, this seems like this would have been a situation where having just a single security guard in sickbay would have made sense.
Yep. Yeah. So then they needed compatible DNA from one of those guys in order to fix Spock's genome modification. And this is hilarious.
Well, they were going to put it into an eye drop, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
But they couldn't get an eye drop quickly enough down to him. So how did they fix that?
Well, it's because they were walking into the building at that point in time, which reminded me so much of Picard when they were trying to get into that gala.
Yep.
And you had Rios there at the door, and the security clearance machine thing keeps rejecting him.
And Agnes had to quickly do the database thing.
Yes. I mean, this was just like that. Spock gets scanned the first time and fails, and then they do the transporter monkey business with the DNA.
Well, let's be specific. So what happened? They wanted to put this in an eye drop, but they couldn't get the eye drops to him in time. So what they did is, as he was leaning forward the second time in the scanner, they transported like the eye drop onto his eye. At least that was the interpretation I got from the visuals.
Oh, God. So anyway.
So then it worked. Then he stuck his eye in there, and it said, yep, you're good.
Yeah. And meanwhile, up on the Enterprise, that guy that they'd taken up, he's running around the ship. He's in the lift talking to Uhura. And that actually, there was an example of how they could have tried to communicate with this new species and actually not sedated them and kept them prisoner.
Well, I think what they were trying to do by sedating them, I mean, again, don't make me defend the show, was they didn't want to have a situation where they'd have to give them a story that like nobody would believe. I think they just wanted to knock them out so that they wouldn't have anything to talk about. Yeah,
but at this point, it's way too late for that. He's been running around the ship. He's seen, I don't know how many crew members, how many floors. He's on the turbo lift.
And they were just chasing him down. At no time did I see Nurse Chapel go to an intercom and say, "Security, there's a person loose on deck 13. Can you do something about it?"
Yeah.
Like, apparently this ship has no security.
Apparently not.
And I found it interesting. I mean, again, I didn't like the way they did it, but the way Uhura was connecting with this guy is, I'm guessing she was monitoring the communications on the planet, and she learned enough about, I guess, the sport that he followed.
Yeah.
So she was able to basically talk football with him.
Yeah.
And that's how he was able to calm down until they could sedate him again.
Yep.
And that could have been interesting, but the way it was done was stupid.
Yep.
So I'm not going to say they did something good here. It could have been good, but
again,
they didn't do it good.
This was an hour-long show that they wasted the first half hour on the characters instead of the story.
And they didn't really develop the characters. They just... Two of the characters have a troubled past with PTSD. That's not really a background. And then, like, the rest of them, like Mbenga and Chapel, we're just supposed to inherit their backgrounds from the original series, so they didn't do any development there. And then what development they did with Spock, they like screwed up badly.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, they make it into the building, and they're in the elevator on their way down to find Una and the rest of the crew. And they're in the elevator, and one of the aliens from the planet, she's flirting with Pike. Again, I think they were trying to add some levity to the show. I think they understand that people like the Orville, but they have no idea how to incorporate.
They have no timing.
Yeah.
They don't, I mean, I don't think they hired any comedian to help them write these things, because comedy's a timing thing. I mean, to write good comedy, you have to know what you're doing. You can't just stick it out there, because you can give somebody else the same joke and they can't tell it. They don't have the timing. It's not going to be funny. So I wish they would, well, I don't wish, because at this point I want this crap to go away, but they do not have anybody on staff that understands comedy. They inject this crap, kind of like in Discovery, when they tried to with that alien crew person, you know, with the snotty nose and sneezing in the elevator. They're trying to make it funny because they know people like the Orville, but these people have no comedic timing. When they try to do something, it's just not funny. It's cringy. Because some other comedy that was injected into this was the Latinx person that was on the ship. They tried a few times to be comedic with her. Like one time she was on the captain's chair and she's like, every single time I'm in the captain's chair. That wasn't funny.
No.
I mean, it wasn't funny. Maybe a different person with a different timing could have made that funny, but this wasn't funny. It was inappropriate at the time for her to be saying something like that.
Well, it's like they need to pick what kind of show they want this to be. Is this supposed to be a drama, or is this a dramedy, or is this a comedy? Which one is it? They really haven't been able to figure out how to meld drama and comedy, if dramedy is what they're going for. It feels like a drama that has comedy shoehorned in at inappropriate times. And it's a real shame that CBS passed on the Orville when they had the chance, because that is far superior Star Trek to anything that I've seen come out of Kurtzman's little group.
Well, it's funny because, and maybe, again, funny may not be the right things. Interesting. As we were watching this, the introduction, your sister said they have more executive producers on the credits than they do cast.
Well, starring cast.
Cast. Given the people who were in this episode with speaking roles, I think she was 100% correct.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. When you have more executive producers than you do speaking role characters in a TV series, something's wrong.
Yeah. Like, why? Why? What are they doing? Yeah. So anyway, they find Una and the other two in what looks like a freaking closet, and instead of getting the hell out of there, they stop and talk to each other and talk about their feelings. And
well, I think they were saying they were so far down they couldn't get a communicator or transporter lock. But yeah, instead of just leaving and trying to go back up where they could get, transported out, they're sitting there wasting time getting caught up and talking about crap that doesn't matter. It's like, no, go.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an inappropriate time to be having that little discussion. Then they're trying to get to the elevator, and of course, they run into some of the species from the planet, and they fight with them. Yeah, that was I don't know. That just, again, it's like, is this supposed to be an action show, or is this, what the hell am I watching here?
Well, the action wasn't even very good.
Yeah.
It was hard to see what was going on. I'm guessing because maybe they weren't very good with the choreography. I don't know. But there was some fighting, but it wasn't well done or anything. No,
and then Spock's ears start coming back, and he loses the facial features and everything, and he says, Captain, the pain is unbearable. And then he's, yelling, and all of these other members of this other species on the planet, they're getting out of the elevator, and they see what's going on there, and so everybody's caught at that point. So that's when Captain Pike decides, screw it, I'm just gonna try to do what I think I should do. And then he says, take me to your leader.
Which was supposed to be a joke and humor. And that was the closest thing to funny that this whole episode did. because I wouldn't say that was funny, but it's the closest they got to being
They tried?
Funny. Yep.
They tried, so I guess points for trying. But again, it was much better on that Christmas episode of Doctor Who, where the doctor said the exact same line to those hosts on the Titanic.
Because he even said after that, I think he mumbled something like, I've always wanted
to say that.
Yeah. So like he was winking at the camera as he said it.
Yeah. No winks here. It just fell flat. So then he's trying to explain to this leader of this one faction on this planet. And it's so hard because I don't even know what the name of this planet was or any of the factions or that leader's name or anything. So it makes it really hard to recount the story when it's just like, he's talking to the leader of this one faction who's at war with this other faction.
She had big poofy hair, that's what I can tell you.
My sister said she had Hunger Games hair.
Uh-huh.
So make of that what you will. So they were being uncooperative. So Pike just tells the Enterprise to come into lower orbit and show what they've got. And
he's got a big stick.
Oh my god.
Because the president or leader of that one faction said something like,
whoever has the biggest stick wins.
Right. And then he's like, well,
that's me.
Then he showed the Enterprise and then he's like, but I got the big stick. Stupid. I mean,
Yep. So, that's when the air raid sirens go off.
Well, how the Enterprise even went into that atmosphere, like that ship isn't meant to be in an atmosphere. There's been a few times it's gone into an atmosphere at the upper level, and those are dangerous situations that usually it's like, Scotty, give me power. I got to get out of here. No, just go. Because it wasn't like, just a little bit. You could see the Enterprise pretty decently there. So how low in the atmosphere were they? And it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
The ship was designed to be a spacefaring ship, not an atmosphere. Despite what J.J. Abrams did, these ships do not function in an atmosphere. As I remember it, and again, somebody in the comments correct me, I believe the first starship that we saw on television that could land on in a planet and fly in an atmosphere, I believe that was the Intrepid class, and I believe that was what Voyager was.
Yeah, it was.
Because the struts and everything would come down.
Yep.
The other starships before that, they in no way were meant to be in an atmosphere. They would get crushed in the atmosphere and ripped apart if they went into an atmosphere. So I don't understand what they're doing here. They just had it hovering there. Like, how is that thing even staying afloat? I mean, it's just, I don't understand. I guess they just figure you just float in the air. I mean, I don't know.
So anyway, that's when the leaders from both factions on the planet meet. Pike is showing them images of 21st century Earth and the Second Civil War of the United States and World War III and
eugenics war.
Yeah, so it just.
And when they showed that, and again, I don't know if this was supposed to be part of that Second Civil War, but he showed some video clips on their screen. I have no idea how he took over their video screen, but one of the scenes that they showed was like audit the vote, and then it was like a Biden. It was supposed to be like some bunch of Trump supporters.
I think it was supposed to be a January 6th thing, and I found that extremely offensive.
And that's a civil war? Yeah, I found it offensive too, because I don't understand why they keep taking current day political shots. That's not what Star Trek is supposed to be. It's not.
No.
In the 60s, both Republicans and Democrats watched the original series. I think for the most part, they both watched The Next Generation and the other series. If you're going to tell something like that, you do it in allegory.
Yep.
So, yes, the planet itself was allegory, okay. But then when you show actual, I don't know if that was real footage or just fake footage of some sort of like Trump rally or something. I mean, what are you doing? This is as bad as Stacey Abrams on the Discovery episode.
Yeah. Yeah. So they just can't help themselves. They just can't help themselves. And I'm really sick of their crap. So anyway, so apparently, God, and it was just, So he told them that, you can go to war or you can join our Federation of Planets. So clearly they decide to join the Federation. And, some of the imagery used there was kind of bizarre because, You know, like my mom pointed out at one point, they're holding up this, what looks like some sort of white cutout of a starship.
Mm-hmm.
And they're holding it up like you're viewing the Eucharist at church. So that was just bizarre. Yeah, it's like these people, they really, the people writing this, making this stuff, they really don't know what they're doing.
I don't think they understand anything. Anything. They don't understand human nature. They don't understand technology. They don't understand cause and effect. They don't understand any of this stuff. I don't know why they're writing for the show. I don't understand. And then people are consuming this, and I realize a portion of them are so desperate for good Star Trek that they want to watch something that even kind of resembles what they are hoping for. But I mean, this is so crappy. This episode was so crappy. If somebody said, is this better than a Picard episode? I don't know. I mean, Agnes eating the car battery made me laugh.
Yeah, at least I enjoy laughing
Brent
at that.
Spiner running down the Picards in his car made me laugh. It was stupid, but it made me laugh.
I enjoy laughing at things that are stupid enough to make me laugh. This wasn't stupid enough to make me laugh.
No.
This was just crap. For instance, you know, there's a scene where Not Drummer, also known as La'an Noonien Singh.
I'm going to keep calling her Not Drummer because I'm not even going to give him credit for calling her that.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's talking about things like, you know, not believing you're going to die is what gets you killed. And
well, plus her backstory. So when she said that, her backstory was like she was captured by the Gorn, and was it her and her family or her and some other people?
Yeah, her family, I guess.
And then there was like some ritual there where they were all but one was sacrificed in some, I don't know, egg sack thing. I don't even remember what the hell it was.
She got to see her people slit open and used as breeding sacks.
And then the last, somehow she was put out there on her own on a raft
on a
or something.
Space raft and sent off into, you know, the space, I guess.
So they added this trauma to her. And, like, that was the extent of it. And it reminded me when she did that. Now, granted, the trauma wasn't the same. But it reminded me of Tasha Yar when she talked about growing up on that colony and they had the rape gangs and everything.
Yep.
It's just, but the thing with Tasha Yar, they didn't open up the first episode with her talking about the rape gangs and everything.
Yeah.
At least I don't remember that.
No, and she didn't have all this weird philosophical crap either. You know, believing she would die is what kept her alive, and everyone else died, and they were surprised. And it just, like, who's writing this crap? This
is the kind of stuff I would expect from somebody who maybe just graduated college.
Not even. Like, I would expect this shit from a teenager.
And,
this is like some emo teenager whining about how sucky their life is while they're living in a cul-de-sac.
They were so interested in writing philosophy, they didn't tell a good story. Here's an idea to the writers. I'm sure they're watching our video. Stop trying to write philosophy. Just write a good story, and if it's a good story, the philosophy will come off of the story by itself. Stop with the opining about how you think the world should work or any of these larger things about how you look at life. It's like you don't even understand how that works. Just tell a good story. Hell, forget good. Just tell a story. What we got here was a partial story. This was not even a complete story. This was a half story. Because that first episode of The Orville, I think everybody agrees, wasn't the best of The Orville.
No.
And this followed the same thing. The difference was The Orville had some comedic moments. When Malloy and Mercer are on that shuttle, and they're doing a similar flyby to The Orville that they tried to do here, that was a homage to the motion picture. The Orville knew what they were doing. That was a beautiful shot when they were doing that. And then later when the ship was leaving, the Orville was leaving space dock, which you didn't, did we get a space? I think we must have gotten a leaving space dock scene on this, but I don't remember it. But the Orville, when it left space dock and then the camera looked up or looked down and then you saw the moon, I guess it looked up and you saw the moon. That was a beautifully shot scene. So even though the Orville episode wasn't one of the strongest Orville episodes, that beginning, the flyby scene of the Orville, then when it left space dock, that at least looked nice. That was definitely great homage to the motion picture. This episode of Strange New Worlds, even though it followed that same formula where you basically only got half a story, basically the other half of the story with this planet was like the Fear the Banana story in the Orville. But this was stupid. There was nothing here. They didn't do anything useful. No. Nothing useful.
No, and there were just more weird philosophical bullshit sayings, like, you know, that story about the domes in space with all the seeds
at the
growing.
End there. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
Well, you know, because growth is possible in space, and then that weird whatever shadows we bring with us, they make the light all the brighter. I mean, it's just like this nonsense crap. Again, it's a philosophy of 16-year-olds.
Yeah, like they read a philosophy book and they're like kind of quoting it, but they're like misquoting it and they're using it in the wrong places. And so it just sounds like gobbledygook.
Well, they think they're so deep.
Yeah. Well, these people think that they're more intelligent than what they are.
Yeah.
And they talk down to their audience. And like the previous two series, Discovery and Picard, this series, this Strange New World, they have made it clear they are going to talk down to a certain audience. And they're going to straighten that philosophy out one way or the other.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the entire first episode. It was garbage. There's no reason to watch it.
I don't understand. There were some people who I actually kind of respected their opinion, and they're like, well, it had some problems, but it was, it was a good start. No, it wasn't. This was as disappointing as you can get. I had a low bar here, but I had higher expectations. I thought they were going to get the first episode right, and they were going to establish the beginning of a universe, and then I thought like by episode 3 they were going to crap the bed. They crapped the bed in the first 5 minutes of this episode.
This was actually much worse than I anticipated.
Yes.
And like you said, my bar was really low. I mean, this surprised me.
We had low expectations and we were still disappointed.
Yeah.
I don't know if people just like Easter eggs. Remember this, remember this, remember this. My personal opinion, that's why I cannot watch Lower Decks. That's all that is remember this, remember this, remember this. And that's all they're doing in this is remember this, remember this, remember this. Yeah, I remember this. I've been talking about in this video what I remember. How about you tell some new Star Trek that actually does something to take the franchise forward? Stop doing prequels. There's a frickin' idea. Because you're never going to move the franchise forward if you're doing prequels. By definition, you can't move it forward with a prequel.
Well, they can't move it forward. That's the issue. These people are incapable of doing that, so they do nothing but reiterate stuff from the past. I don't understand. I just don't. I don't know where they keep getting money to make this crap. I don't know why people keep getting paid to write this crap.
Who's writing praising this crap?
I don't know.
Because those people either have very bad taste
or they're paid.
Or they're being paid.
Yeah.
Because this is on par with Picard. Like the latter end of Picard. This is on par with that. That's how bad this is. And this is the first episode.
Oh, we're in for a world of hurt.
And this is going to be painful to watch because I was grateful that we were reaching the end of the Picard series because it was getting difficult to watch. So I thought I had not a lot of confidence that it was going to be all that good, but I thought it might be okay at the beginning. At least it would be different crap than Picard. No, they're doing the same types of things. Yes, It's not the exact same characters, but they're doing the same stupid things they did in Picard. So maybe in Strange New World, you don't need a car battery. I don't know. Maybe you eat, a bumper or something. I mean, they're just going to mix up something else in there, but it's going to be the same people writing this crap. And I mean, I know this is, Akiva Goldsman? So I don't know how this guy keeps getting jobs writing. This guy is a hack. I don't know. I mean, I would like to see a first draft of what he writes, like with a pen and paper. Because, I mean, can this guy even, I'm curious if he can, even write, write without using, multiple spell checkers and syntax checkers and everything. Because what he puts on the screen is garbage. I'm trying to remember. I think he did one of those crappy Batmans from the 90s live action.
Oh, did he really?
I think he did. I have to look that up. I don't know why this guy keeps getting work, but I'm pretty sure he's the one who wrote this episode, and it was garbage. It was a garbage episode. This series, I mean, it's possible that maybe they're going to turn this around and make some episodes that learn some lessons. Because I do agree with people who say usually the first episode of a series is kind of rough. This was beyond rough. This was garbage. So the good news is they only have up to go. This was so bad that they only can get better from here. That's how bad this was. So I think I'm upset, not so much with the episode. I looked online and I saw people praising this episode.
Yep.
So I went into this episode saying, you know what? People who I actually have some respect for, I thought that they gave me some confidence that, I'm going to have an okay time watching this. And then it was just like watching Picard. When are we going to be done with this crap? This is the last live action series I can imagine that Secret Hideout's going to be allowed to do. If he's allowed to do a Section 31, why do you think it's going to be better than the past 2 and now 3 live actions? Why do you think that? Why? No more Section 31, no more any more series. Stop Discovery, stop Picard, I guess, after season 3. And I don't know what you're going to do with Strange New Worlds. I mean, they have a season. I've heard rumors are talking about a season 2.
Cancel it. They should cancel it.
This is garbage.
Stop wasting money. Stop.
I mean, I'm getting sick of this. I'm getting sick of the gaslighting of people online, which I start to wonder if these aren't paid trolls that infiltrate places and are trying to mold the conversation, because I'm fine with people having different tastes than me. Because somebody mentioned, if you take these Secret Hideout series and you just strip off the Star Trek label, they're actually not so bad.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. They don't even follow their own new continuity that they make in their own shows. They don't even follow their own continuity that they made.
Well, even beside that, there are times when it's inappropriate to stop and talk about your feelings, and in the middle of a battle is one of those times.
And all 3 of these series have done that.
And over and over again.
All 3 of these series have done that.
Again, this is like, am I watching some sort of teenage drama, or is this supposed to be Star Trek? And even if it wasn't Star Trek, if this was supposed to be just a science fiction television show for adults, this is not written for adults. This is written for emotionally immature people, also known as teenagers.
Yeah, like 14-year-olds. This is 14, 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
This episode of Strange New Worlds, if you're a 14 or 15-year-old, you might like it. I mean, I'm being very iffy there, but you might like it.
Maybe.
If you're like college age or beyond...
Probably not.
I mean, I don't know how you can like this. I really don't. I mean, this is... I don't know. I don't know.
It's bad.
I have a real problem with the people who were gaslighting me to say this was actually not bad. I was told this was the best of the live action Secret Hideouts. I think the best of the 3 so far has been Star Trek Picard. You'd have to go back to season 1, like the first episode. And even then, I'm being extremely kind because Picard is still garbage. Because Discovery was garbage, and it took me a few episodes of Picard to say this is garbage. Discovery I knew after the first episode because it was that 2-parter, the Vulcan Hello and the Battle of the Binary Stars. I knew it was garbage after those 2 episodes. And Picard, it took me a few episodes to go, no, this isn't ever going to get better. This is the first episode of Strange New Worlds. It took me at least 2 episodes of Discovery because it was a 2-parter. This is worse. This is a 58-minute episode. And it was garbage after like 5 to 10 minutes.
I'm not sure it took that long.
And I might even, I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt when you had the beginning there with Pike, and I'm like, well, it's just going to take them a while to get going here. But then, we're sitting there going, man, this reminds me of Sequest when Bridger was brought back into service. And I'm like, son of a bitch, man, they steal from everything.
Yes, they do. And they don't do it well either. So, yeah, Strange New Worlds is the same old shit. And you shouldn't watch it.
Do not go onto Paramount Plus and watch this. I mean, if you can get it accidentally online, maybe try it out just to see how bad it is. But I don't think this is going to be anything. If you're a Star Trek fan, you're not going to want to watch this.
No.
So don't watch it. We'll cover this crap on this channel. And I'm sorry, the tone of voice I have now is probably going to be how the rest of this series is going to be unless they up their game. Because this stuff's pissing me off now. It's not just a matter of laughing at it. I'm starting to get pissed off. They've had 3 whiffs, 3 strikes and you're out. CBS, kick Secret Hideout out. They're done. They're done.
Why do they keep giving money to these people?
I have no idea. That stupid contract that was it Les Moonves signed. These idiots are like stuck here till 2025 or something.
That guy.
Yeah.
I guess he screwed everybody.
Yeah, I mean...
Anyway, that was a really bad joke. So we hated it, and don't watch it, and now we gotta go watch Picard. Oh, God, why do we do this to ourselves?
Yeah, we watched this. We picked this because we sat and said, what do you want to watch tonight? Because we have to review both of these. And we both agreed, look, man, we know Picard blows. Can we watch something that we've heard from people it might be okay? Can we watch that to kind of lead up into then having to deal with Picard?
We mistakenly thought that this was going to be better.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because as bad as the next Picard episode's probably going to be, because we haven't watched it yet, the finale, but if in that review, I'm going to compare it to Strange New Worlds because I want to know, as bad as that last episode is, if it was as bad as this episode.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've heard rumors. I won't get into that right now, but, oh, God.
So I would like to hear from people and what they think. Our last video, we were surprised. I mean, we've gotten like 4 times the amount of views on that video than we normally get, and a lot more comments, and all those comments have been really good. I don't know if YouTube's algorithm is picking us up or what, but it has been so nice interacting with the people commenting on these videos. So I hope you comment on this video. Even if you disagree, maybe you like Strange New Worlds and you want to have a debate in the comments. I'm going to make sure I bring facts to the table, so you do so as well. But please comment. I've enjoyed the comments for the past few weeks, and last week our video just blew up. I mean, we're still a small channel, but we got like 4 times the views and a lot more comments than we usually do, and I was tickled. I mean, I had a very good time watching the comments rolling in and the view count rolling in. So please comment and let me know what you thought of this crap.
Well, yeah, because as much as it makes us feel less crazy for the way we feel compared to what the narrative online tends to be, I'm sure that the commenters like to discuss this stuff as well because, again, it's a community where you can actually talk to other people who are also saying, no, them telling us this is good, that's all bullshit. It's not good. There's a bunch of us who feel that it's not good, and it makes you feel better to know that there are other people out there. Yeah. So, yes, thank you, everybody who's commented and given us thumbs up or even just viewed our videos because, boy, it's just been so isolating with one crappy show after another and being told there's something wrong with us because we don't like it. Wow, that can do a number on your head. So, thank you all for not going along with that crap.
Yep, it's been enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to watching your comments, reading your comments, and seeing what you thought of this episode. Because maybe Molly and I are way off here, but I don't think we are. I think this is crap, and I have a feeling a lot of the comments are going to back up that this is crap.
I think there are a lot of us out there who know that this is garbage, and we're sick of being lied to. So, that being said, we've got to go watch Picard now. Oh, happy, happy, joy, joy. Thanks for listening. And, we'll be doing the next episode of this god-awful show. So come back next week and we'll have the next one for you.
Take care.